So I was coming home on the train the other day. It was about 5:30 night. It was a Tuesday, and it got me thinking how much I actually really miss the nightfalls on Tuesday. I mean, in Australia, the nightfall reset time, or the weekly reset time, was about 7 p.m. So there's always this great excitement coming home on a Tuesday to do the nightfall, particularly in the dark below days. What got me thinking of this was the footage you're watching is I mean, it's House of Wolves, but still, back when the nightfall seemed kind of significant. The rewards you can get from it, probably the best you can get in the game besides the raid stuff, which is still kind of the case, but No Trials of Osiris does offer pretty good equipment, and other events like Sparrow Racing and Crimson Days also had pretty good stuff associated to it, 320 gear and whatnot. But yeah, I just remember thinking, is this the week I'm going to finally get Yellowhorn? Felt like I had more fun before I had Yellowhorn than after I got it. Don't get me wrong, when I got it I was so excited, and there's a good couple of weeks, maybe a month, I was really just enjoying using it. Everything became, yeah, I'll say trivial. Everything came a lot more trivial when you got it for sure, but things also became more fun because you could sort of see how powerful you could become, particularly when you started to stack up with teammates who were also using it, shredding through Crota, shredding through Atheon. And it's strange because there's so much excitement and hype towards getting the one gun. Once you got it, you enjoyed it, but then there was just nothing after that. Granted, G1 was one of like the last handful of exotics I needed, so my collection was already fairly complete. But there was no other gun of equal status that you were really trying to get. I mean, I was just trying to get them for the collection purpose. Like, I think the last gun I needed was the Fourth Horseman, and practically speaking, I wasn't going to use it for anything hardcore. I was going to use it just to have a laugh with. It wasn't actually something I would have added to my arsenal besides the collection. That being said, I was still excited when I got it. It just wasn't the same sort of hunt. It wasn't the same sort of excitement. Not hunt. I think sort of mimicking this kind of loot system where you're really trying to get something, but I mean, it's sort of broken in the regard that it was the best. That's why you wanted it. It wasn't because it was more rare than anything else. It was just the best. I mean, it definitely felt more rare than everything else. Like Xur only sold it twice ever, and they were like a year apart. But yeah, I just remember, I wouldn't say it was the highlight. I mean, it was definitely one of the highlights of the week, back when you used to come home and do the nightfall, the raids with your team. But I remember we used to always have to really wait for all 6 of us to be online to do Crota, given that, I don't know why, but my clan was very short on G-Horns until probably mid House of Wolves. Definitely during the Dark Below, none of us really had it. I think I got mine towards the end of the Dark Below. So we definitely had to complete hard Crota without any G-Horns, which was fairly difficult. We got through it after a few tries. But yeah, once we started getting G-Horns in the clan, it was just like, you could half the number of people, you could even like have a third of the people. You could have 2 people do it. And 2 people was pretty rare, but 3 people could definitely do a Crota on Dark Below days. I mean, it only took, 3 G-Horn shots to bring them down to 2 people shooting, like, 2 each is excessive. One person shooting 2, one person shooting 1 is enough. It wasn't that tough. Made the game more fun, but it's sort of like just short-lived it. It was kind of like going for everything really quick and just sort of souring the whole experience by shortening it. Don't think it was the best in the long run. I could only feel for the people who got G-Horn. I mean, I wish I was one of the, at the time, I wish I was one of the people who got G-Horn early on so I could start enjoying it straight away, but I kind of see now that your experience would have been even worse. I mean, you would have had even less variety from the start. If you're trying to do well, you're trying to get through things the most efficient way possible, then you're going to be using G-Horn, which means you're going to forego everything else, like Hunger of Crota, which is what I was using for a long time before I got G-Horn. A lot of LMGs, I mean, you wouldn't have even used Corrective Measure was an excellent LMG, and that probably was completely unused. I was personally a fan of the Against All Odds back in the Dark Below. It had a pretty good version I got from the Cryptarch, which only had which was void damage with a Field Scout back when Field Scout actually increased your mag size. It had 50 shots. And it was nuts. It was like a Yolda's hammer in its own way, except it had Rodeo and Field Scout, and had Surplus too, which made it quite efficient. You got a lot of bullets, like 90 back with the heavy ammo drop, which definitely made it more efficient. But yeah, once I got G on, they were just put back in the vault. Had no use. I mean, I wasn't even using exotic specials or primaries because G-Horn has always occupied that slot in PvE. Icebreaker was just a phenomenal special weapon exotic, even during the G-Horn days when it was king. I mean, Icebreaker was probably still more. Icebreaker probably had more utility than G-Horn. For what it could do, you could generate ammo in situations where you couldn't actually move. It was like the god gun considered for boomers back in the day because you didn't have to move from the spot and you always had ammo to fight them. High impact, high range, high aim assist. Couldn't really go wrong with it. But then just in terms of sheer DPS, you couldn't beat G-Horn. You definitely see that in the solo burn nightfalls when you could just set up a triangle formation around Omnigul and kill her in 2 seconds. You laugh about how fast it was. When it would have been quick to use something like Icebreaker or Black Hammer, but nowhere near as quick, and it would be a lot more inefficient to use snipers because it relies a lot more heavily on being accurate, whereas G-Horn, you don't have to be accurate, you can shoot near him and all the damage will happen anyway. Had proximity built in, which made it even more ridiculous. But yeah, after the Taken King sort of wore off, after a few months in, I really started to get bored of Destiny. I sort of felt like the Nightfall was redundant. After being the hard mode raid of Oryx, getting a decent set of loot, it wasn't really like there was much to go back and play for. I personally didn't feel like the Nightfalls are rewarding enough to play. The raid was very subjective. You could get a week where you get 318 arms, and a week you get nothing, and a week you get 320 helmet, which I never got a 320 helmet, but getting to light 320 was just an uphill battle, which seemed really unrewarding in the end because you're only getting a very fractional increase of damage, a very marginal increase in damage and health. In the long run, you're better off just going for a more efficient build with your intellect, discipline, and strength, trying to max those out, and foregoing the 320, maybe going 315, but having those stats maxed out or in a better configuration was worth it because being 320 was so negligible it didn't matter. So yeah, while the weekly reset was still exciting for the Oryx raid early on, it didn't have the same sort of excitement as the Nightfall. Back when there was still things you really wanted to get. Actually, that was the other thing that really soured it, was the fact that you could buy exotic engrams. That's the other thing that really soured the whole Nightfall experience and the hunt for G-Horn, more or less. The hunt for a rare exotic in the Taken King was that you could just get, and more like you could pretty much get endless exotic engrams just using the 3 coins. And then there was definitely an exploit that I definitely took advantage of back in the day when you could use Draxus, I think his name was, into that Scourge of Winter mission. You could endlessly kill him. You just you down him and yourself with a launcher. He'll drop an engram, pop another 3 coins, good to go again. You can get a dozen exotic engrams in half an hour if you really pushed it. Wasn't hard at all. And I had a huge backlog of strange coins to spend on those things, so I just completed my collection relatively early, and then just the weekly heroic strikes, giving you 27 coins a week, and then all the engrams you decode for more strange coins. I had a huge backlog. It was probably close to 1,000 coins. A lot of them went in the first week just straight up on 3 coins when they first came out to be sold. And I nearly completed my collection. I mean, Telesto was straight up, and Zalo, all these things came very quick. I think even Jade Rabbit, like these guns that I was really looking forward to getting, were sort of trivialized by how fast I can get them using this 3 coins method. And I was told by some of my clanmates that I'm going to just ruin the experience. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I just wanted to get them in a hurry. And in hindsight, I wish I just sort of play it slow and got them over time. Then I could have actually enjoyed one gun at a time instead of getting them all at once and just seeing which is the best and not using the worst ones. I kind of did the opposite to what G-Horn did. I sort of just rushed the experience and then got it from the start, and now I got bored a lot quicker. Didn't have the same excitement. I wasn't really playing for much. I was really playing to play with my clanmates, because that was the funny part of it. It was just fun to muck around on raids. The Nightfall was just a joke anyway because of the damage scaling, and I mean they did tweak the burn value so the enemies got more of a buff than you did, which was definitely a good choice because it just seemed so hilariously easy back when the burns equally helped you and them. But still, the Nightfalls were a bit of a joke. I mean, the burns definitely helped you more than they hindered you, and you could just set up camp. There's no punishment for sitting way back and just picking them off with a sniper. That was the easiest method ever, just using the appropriate element sniper and snipe from a distance. GG. I need water. I guess what I really would have liked to see is the inclusion of more exotics, and that's sort of a simple fix. It's not really the most economical fix, but having more exotics to get would definitely increase the playability. I know that takes time and effort, and I'm sure there's cheaper ways to get around that, and probably cheaper ways that I wouldn't even mind. Things like limiting the number of exotics you can get per week, or I mean, I've discussed how I think RNG should work in the game, and I think that probably would help get what you want more quickly. Not like it wouldn't be like year 1 Yellowhorn taking 6 months to get because it's completely random. It would be a more efficient way to get exotics, but limit the number you can get so that way you couldn't just use that system to exploit all the exotics in a week, kind of like I did with those 3 coins. I know they did fix that pretty quick afterwards. They actually made like a 15-minute cooldown, so you couldn't actually just spam them on the same boss. You have to actually. It was intended to be like you do a strike, you complete the strike, you get one at the end if you're lucky. I think the way it works now, yeah, that's the way it works now, and that is definitely a better way of doing it. Same with Crucible. Every game you have a chance to get an exotic, which is a good way of doing it. Still, I mean, if it's all completely random, you can spend 6 months trying to get something, or you can get everything in the same day, and then you've just wasted your time. And you've just soured the experience. You're not going to be able to play the game for very long if you've run out of content already. I feel like the content isn't really holding up itself. I mean, the content, I ate through the content in the first year, and within the first month and a half, 2 months. I know that the first DLC dropped 3 months in, but that's irrelevant. I mean, I think 6 months for the Dark Below. I mean, I ate through all the Dark Below content in a month and a half. As soon as hard mode dropped, I did it like in the 3rd day, and then it was just repeats after that. There was 6 months of that. There was no Crucible incentive. This was before trial, so there's no Crucible incentive every week. In fact, there was no incentive at all for Crucible because the rewards were pitiful back then. I think this is before House of Wolves. I'm pretty sure House of Wolves when they started releasing like the shift splitter, like those sort of. It was the same legendaries. It was like the Matador and the Party Crasher. They used to drop all the time. But yeah, getting back to the Dark Below and Craters in. I felt like the content itself wasn't enough to keep me playing. It was the hunt for the exotics, and a lot of people have agreed that the game wouldn't have been itself without the exotics, like the collection aspect. I'm definitely a hunter in those sort of collection games. Even if I don't particularly enjoy the game, I just like to have a complete collection. But that has some limitations. Like, I don't like to spend money. Like, if I had to actually start spending microtransaction money, real money, to complete a collection, I'd probably just quit, because I feel like that's just starting to take away from the experience, but that's just me. But yeah, if I wasn't trying to complete a collection of any purpose, if I was just playing the game for the content, I would have just got incredibly bored early last year, like back in February 2015. I would just quit because I'd not run anything to do. I was still trying to complete a collection. I needed more content coming, so more collection to complete. Then House of Wolves rolled around, just continued to work on my exotics. I just remember feeling pretty hollow when I felt the exotics getting left behind in year 2. Given all that work I did to finally complete my collection, I thought, oh well, be a new collection to start now. And that sort of got completed on the first day, so that didn't really matter anyway. The only things I really needed after the first day was a touch of Malice, and the few exotics they released afterwards, like Dragon's Breath was released later, and a few other repeats from year 1, like Hardlight. So yeah, getting back to the original point about being excited for the Nightfalls. There's several options. I mean, there's either put more exotics in the game so you have something to play for. There's increasing amount of content. Something that you want to get. There's got to be some sort of excitement factor. Something that really encourages you to play. Something that would actually get you to choose Destiny over something else. At this stage, I don't know what it would be. I mean, I could still see myself getting excited for the Nightfall if it was back to where I was trying to get something new that I didn't have, something that was really good. But you need to sort of counter it, so once you actually do get to something that's very good, you're not going to get incredibly bored very quickly. But having multiple things that are really good seems kind of unusual, because if you have more than one thing that's very good, you can consider that pretty much everything's very good, so there's nothing unique about anything. Everything's good in its own way. Or you can sort of say Modern Warfare 2 was a game like that where everything was really good in its own way and you could compete, but people hated that. Personally, I didn't, but a lot of people hated the fact that everything was really strong. I can see it being a problem, but if everything's really strong, it is more or less balanced, but people don't like fast death, especially in a game like Destiny where it's like a slow shooter. Travel over time, which sort of makes no sense because a lot of the guns are hit scan, like a lot of the bullet weapons are hit scan, but they still have a very long registration time, so much so that you can kill trade, which makes no sense with guns that connect instantly, are meant to connect instantly, like assault rifles and hand cannons. I could absolutely justify a kill trade with a fusion rifle because that is a protection weapon, does have travel time, and a rocket definitely, obviously. But things like rifles and snipers, sniper headshot trading was the most ridiculous thing, given that they are hit scan weapons, instantly connecting once you fire the weapon. To actually trade makes no sense. I mean, you never see it in Call of Duty, which is also hit scan. But I feel like the registration is just so snapshot. The registration is so instant that, well, meant to be instant. Even when it's lagging, you don't kill trade. But the registration is sort of tweaked to the point where it understands who's hit first, and that person wins. Whoever's landed the shot first. It doesn't let you hit someone and then copy hit yourself and say, okay, we've traded, so we're both going to die. It doesn't allow for that. I don't really understand why hit scan weapons ever had a kill trade ability in this game. I sort of just tied it down to the lag. Yeah, the audio of this has gone way longer than I expected. I just sort of started talking off the top of my head, and now it's sort of gone into just talking shit, talking random, whatever. Pretty sure the second piece of footage I'll show will be our first Trials Flawless when House of Wolves dropped. It wasn't very special. I remember the day we played earlier that day on the day it came out. I think it was a Saturday morning. For us in Australia, it was a Saturday morning. Played with a few friends, and us three together weren't really Crucible tuned at the time. We were just more or less playing Crucible occasionally, because as a clan, more of a PvE group, didn't play a lot of Crucible. At this stage, later on we played a ton, that was pretty much what we did. But at this stage it was mostly just PvE. So going into Trials, we were a pretty rusty group, and I remember we won a few games and lost a few games, and I was getting pretty mad, because I didn't really realise that you could just wipe your card and try again. And I was sort of under the impression that once you lose, you lose and you're done for the week. And then I was pretty mad. Then once I realised you can come back, I wasn't all that mad. I just sort of took it as it went. Later that night, I played with one of my friends and one of my American friends, and we went flawless straight away. It was 4 in the morning for us when we finished. My mate had to get up in 2 hours for work or something. Yeah, we played pretty much all night and got flawless. It was a pretty good run. This is back when I felt like a lot more casuals were playing Trials. I mean, you still definitely get casuals in Trials, but some of the players we played were just so, I don't say bad, they were just inexperienced and a bit average at the whole point and shoot thing. So going flawless wasn't that impressive. I definitely had better or more impressive Trials flawless victories, ones that we actually really had to grind for. I got another gameplay somewhere that I might show at some stage. I might even show it in this one if this video goes long enough, of us having a good comeback game in the final round to go flawless. We already lost a game. I I think we lost a game against the same team. We played them twice in a row, and we were 2-0 down in the second game. So we already burnt our mercy. We had to win this game. We came back from 2-0 down to win 5-2, I think. That was a good win. They were a pretty solid team. This is back when final round, Thorn, Widow's Court. I'm sure everyone's had that experience when you just don't even see the enemy, dead. Obviously, you look at the kill cam at times, but you're pretty sure they shot you like in the thigh or something and one shot you because of the final round Aphrodite Spear. And I had a final round Aphrodite Spear, but I never used it. I have a very strong moral code when it comes to this sort of things. I don't like to abuse exploits in multiplayer games. I don't advertise it, but I don't mind using the occasional exploit in PvE. If it's just against AI, I don't really see a problem with that. Like, that's why I was never really opposed to cheesing. I feel like cheesing is more on Bungie to fix more than the player community just to not use it, because this is like another topic again, I'm going to keep going, but I felt like the people who ridiculed cheesing, the people who didn't like cheesing, were the people who didn't have to worry about it. They were the people who were a decent player themselves in a very good group, who never had to need a cheese to complete a fight because they were good enough. Probably Dado in the community, he was like very anti-cheese, and he's very well known for being anti-cheese, but he had like an elite group to play with, a group that was always going to be there, always have 6 players on it at a time. He's always going to have a raid group ready to go who are good enough to do the fight properly. And he doesn't understand that a lot of the community, myself included, at this stage I didn't have a raid team at all. I had one friend who actually quit the game by this stage, I'm pretty sure. So I was like, I'm not really a social person, I'm sure you can tell from other videos. I don't really like talking to people, and I wasn't going to go into like a forum or like a LFG website to find a group, and I can't even talk to them if I'm feeling shy about it. Like, it's just not for me. I didn't have any problem cheesing Crota back when you could. To me, it felt like the only option I had. But that being said, when I actually did get a raid team to play with me later on, found a really good group of guys. They're really friendly. They cheesing wasn't really a thing. We did like, I wouldn't say like exploit. We sort of did like some cheese to sort of save time. Things like, I'm talking specifically about something like dying and respawning on the Oracle phase so you could snipe the Oracles, because that was just more like a time-saving thing. Like, we didn't have all night to play. And I guarantee we have done the fight, and definitely could do the fight the right way, which is down on the ground level, set up defender bubbles and destroy the Oracles as they spawn. No problem, but in the interest of time, we definitely just sort of streamlined it by using the cheese, I guess you could say, by sniping them from a distance. And I was all for that. I mean, if you've done the fight, you can do the fight. I mean, after I got in the group, I was doing all the fights properly, and I was happy to do them properly. But after you've done them properly so many times, you sort of start saying, alright, let's just do it to get through it. Especially parts you didn't really enjoy. Like, the Oracle phase, to me, was always the worst part of the fight. I mean, it's not bad design as such, it felt like the most tedious part. I mean, defending the conflicts also felt kind of tedious, but yeah, I had no problem streamlining those parts of the raid. Not really sure how I got on that whole path of cheesing. I think I was mentioning final round snipers and how I never did it, because that's right. I never did final round sniper in multiplayer. Actually, it didn't really matter in PvE because that was the whole point of it, but I never did the final round thing in multiplayer or PvP because I felt like it was a dirty tactic and it shouldn't have been part of the game, and I have a moral code when it comes to that sort of thing. But that's PvP. PvE, the morals go out the window. Not entirely, but mostly. I wasn't advocating anything that's completely against game rules. Anything else within the game, to me, was all limits. Anything within the game was fair game to me. But yeah, I don't really know where this commentary is going, just rambling about random shit now. Trying to reminisce on the good days of Destiny. In hindsight, they're few and far between. I just remember probably the best time I had on the game was right at the release of the Taken Kings. I remember the previous 2 months of the Taken King, I was just straight up playing Crucible. That was the only thing I was doing. My friend Legend were just trying to finish off our Grimoire. Actually, I was just trying to go for skirmish and salvage wins. It was always those 2 game modes I had to finish. I mean, I did Rumble as well. Rumble was probably was the third last to do, but I had played a bit of Rumble early on, so it was already a good way into the wins, the 100 wins part of the Grimoire, but Salvage was definitely the last. Salvage and Skirmish took a long time. I mean, not like as long as other people took, because we were, I like to think we were above average players, or at least, yeah, just on the good side of average. I wouldn't say we were phenomenal players, we weren't. We were good average players. And we did it like in probably a timely manner for most, but it still felt like a real grind. 100 wins in each game mode took a long time. And that's what we did. We played Crucible pretty much every day at this stage. And then we're just so excited for the new content because of just having nothing released for months, and then Taken King comes out, and Legend, myself, and my other friend Jim, we just flat out played about 3 days straight. We only slept for about 4 hours a night and played for 3 days. Preparation for the raid to release on the Friday. That was great fun. I remember doing all the missions. That were great fun the first time around. The cutscenes were a great initiative. It definitely felt like it was more of a involving experience this time around. I really liked the Court of Oryx first time I played it. I thought that it's back when we were all like at least 15 points under the recommended light level and trying to do I can't remember the name. It's like the giant ogre, and then there's like a wizard behind. You got to destroy the ogre to kill the wizard. That was the first week of the Court of Oryx. That was definitely a challenge, and it was fun. And had a blast doing that. Doing the new strikes. I was always like looking for like this is like the only time you're actually really excited to grind because you're trying to get things and there's like a lot of things you don't have. When you only have one or two things, the grind is actually really painful. When you get when everything is new and you can get anything new and you can be excited about getting anything new, the grind is actually somewhat rewarding and the grind is actually fun. You don't feel like a grind at all. And those moments are definitely few and far between when you actually get to experience them. They really are fun. I always felt that Destiny could have definitely been a lot more than it was. It was definitely a great foundation for a game. But like I've seen like countless videos and I've definitely made countless points in party chat to my friends about things that could definitely have been better, things that they can improve and make it a better experience overall. Anyway, I hope I didn't bore any of you with my rambling. It's just a what's on my mind kind of video. I'll have to do a lot of editing because it's going to be a lot of rambling about nothing, and so I have to just cut all that out. But leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you in the next video.